it's going to be part of your state board. Okay. Monica is usually the one that does the state board. So when you guys are ready to sign up for the state board, she'll go over this with you guys step by step. Okay. You can even, I don't know if anyone's aware, you can 3D Lash and Brow, I believe has, or you can just YouTube 3D, state board and what it looks like. So you can have an idea of what the state board looks like, not the exam part, but the hands-on, the practical part. For this reason, licensees should never touch a client's open sore or wound. Powdered, I always say that wrong, alum or styptic powder or cyanacrylate liquid type bondage may be used to contract the skin to stop minor bleeding and shouldn't be applied to the open area with a disposable cotton-tipped instrument that is immediately discarded after application. And you'll learn about the hazard bag so that you can put those into the hazard bag. So this just basically gives you an idea of how to do it and what's the process of that, okay? But again, you're going to be learning that with Monica as well. Let's see. I'll go to, this one breaks down the FDA. So 83.113. And this is good to know, like how to read these numbers, because if you ever hear someone in a studio or anything like that say, hey, I heard that, you know, you could find it in section 83.x, y, and z. So that kind of gives you that idea of how to read this. Let's see, FDA licensing shall not use any product in providing a service authorized under the act that is banned or deemed to be poisonous or unsafe by the United States Food and Drug Administration, FDA, or other local, state, or federal government agency. So this basically breaks down the whole FDA portion of it. Possessions or storage on licensed premises of any item banned or deemed to be poisonous. So again, just to kind of nip it, it's just don't have any, if you hear something is banned and people do sales on it, don't go and buy it, because if you were to get audited and it's banned from FDA or some, you know, something like that, you don't want to have it in your studio, okay? Because you're using basically things that are not authorized to be used. Or just, it's kind of like buying a vehicle. When something's wrong, they start doing recalls. It's the same kind of idea. So let's see. Establishment shall keep the floors, walls, ceilings, shelves, furniture. Super important, ladies. I went one time to a studio where they had a hole in the ceiling, and I get it, things happen, but it just, you know, when you see a hole and then you see that they're not sanitized, it kind of makes you feel like they really don't care about their business. And you have to manage your business, love your business, because it's your baby. That's your baby. So whatever anyone thinks about your baby, they're going to think that about you. You know what I mean? Like, okay, she's not sanitized, she's not clean. So it's really important that they even talk, I don't think I don't remember the section, but if I remember, we'll see if we pass by it. They talk on here too, how to be, how to look hygienic, how to be clean. And Monica's really big on implementing that as one in conversations. I've seen her lash one-on-one. I know that she explains that sometimes you don't want to have odor on you. You don't want to or put too much perfume while you have a client, because there could be a balance in that as well. So, you know, because of course your baby is going to reflect you. So this section here pretty much breaks down your establishments shall keep the floors, walls clean, shelves, furniture, all that good stuff. All floors in the area where services under the act are performed, including restrooms and areas where chemicals are mixed or where water may splash, must be of a material which is not porous or absorbent. This is something that I wanted to bring up also, because I know I did this mistake. And just think, you know, I know some people do it, some people don't. But when I first started and I was setting up my studio, I had an area rug in the middle because it looked pretty. It was like a nice little fluffy one. It didn't dawn on me, all the people that would be coming in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, and your rug gets dirty. You know, you can clean it, you can do a little vacuum, but mostly if it's a light colored rug, it doesn't look sanitized. So you shouldn't, and I believe it says it on here, I would have to look for it, have actually rugs. You're supposed to really not have rugs in the middle of any studio, you know, where they're taking clients, because of the fact that it can get dirty like that, and then you basically, you don't know what they're bringing in under their shoe that's getting on the rug, and then it can just be in the air and then get on the client. So you do want to be careful with that. Oh, it's hold on. Maybe easily washable, except that anti-slip application or plastic floor covering may be used for safety reasons. Carpet is permitted in all other areas. Yeah, so that's where it was. It was right in my face, ladies. So carpet could be permitted in all other areas, just not where you're actually, you know, splash must be of material which is not porous and absorbent and is easily washable, except that the anti-slip application or plastic floor coverings may be used for safety. Yeah, so like if it's in a waiting room, you can have carpet, but if it's where you're actually taking service, no. This then breaks it down more to the plumbing fixtures and things like that, food and beverage. You guys know, you know, you're like, even for my on-campus lady, you're not allowed to eat in the classrooms or where you're doing your practicals and you're taking your clients, because that's just not, again, that's just not sanitized. You don't want to lash someone and then you have, you know, a pizza laying right next to them. I actually had I actually had a lady who I got my lashes done by her, and she had a drink. I don't know what she was doing because I was already laying down and she was about to start putting gel pads. The drink, she knocks the drink down and it was like a slushy and it splattered all over the floor. She had to stop what she was doing to clean it up. And then she was getting impatient because I think it was taking too much time, and she kept apologizing, which I felt so bad because, I mean, things happen, right? But that's why we don't want to keep drinks by our working area. But she kept apologizing that she cleaned as much as she could because it was so thick and a slushy that she left a lot of it, and the room started smelling after a while, believe it or not, because I forgot what kind of flavor it was. It wasn't a stinky smell because, you know, it's a slushy, but you know, you can smell it. And so for me as a client, it's taking time from my time of getting lashed, and then also because, you know, it's taking you 10-15 minutes to clean it up. That's 10-15 minutes that you're not going to have with me. So either you're going to have to extend that time and it's going to go into the time of your next client, they're going to be upset, or you're going to let me walk out with my my lashes not fully completed. So that's why you want to avoid that stuff and not have drinks right in the area where you're working, because you don't want those circumstances to happen. You don't want to get a bad review. You work off of referrals, so you don't want someone to be like, oh, I'm not going to go to her because that was just a hot mess, you know. So just heads up on that. Let's see what else. No animals. You guys know, you know, that's, I'm pretty sure you guys already know you shouldn't have any animals. Living or sleeping purposes, you can't be sleeping there. It breaks it down for you. So for eyelash, so this is the section, if you guys want to write it down, 83.115 for all my lash artists. That's the section that you would go if you have any questions pertaining to lashes. Okay. So we'll go over this one. So it says a licensee offering the eyelash extension application service shall wash his or her hands with soap and water prior to performing any service on a client. And also I always sanitize as well. You want to it just makes it look cleaner. So you want to wash your hands after every client and sanitize. Equipment, implements, and materials shall be properly cleaned and disinfected prior to providing services. Chairs and beds, including headrests, shall be cleaned and disinfected after providing service to each client. The chair and beds shall be made of or covered in a non-porous material that can be disinfected. Okay. You can put the paper on there and just throw it away, because we do that at 3D Lash and Brow. It's faster and easier, but you want to take that extra step and still wipe the beds down. After each client, the following implements shall be cleaned and disinfected: tweezers, nasal aspirator or electric eyelash dryer, and other items used for a similar purpose. So the little fans that we have, you can spray, like if you have a little fan like that, you can spray some EPA on it and then wipe it down. Okay. For the ones that, like the one I have, it has a cover from when I first got my kit years back. It's the little bulkier ones that are round. I just spray it, turn on the fan, let it air out, and then, because I can't get in between, I can't get behind the little doorway, the little cage on top, to get to the actual rails of the fan. So I just spray it and turn it on, let it air out, and then I use it for my next client. The following implements are single-use items and shall be discarded in a trash receptacle after use, disposable gloves, tissues, disposable wipes, fabric strips, all that stuff. So things that you wouldn't, you know, I'm not going to say all of it because you guys already know, like things that you're just not going to reuse, you want to throw them away. The following items that are used during services. Let me rewind real quick. So for face mask, I don't have my clients wear face mask, but I always wear a face mask because I feel like I'm hovering over them. So I want to make sure not everyone feels comfortable wearing a face mask. So I let my clients make that decision, but I always wear a face mask. Okay. So it just depends how you want to do it. The following items that are used during services shall be replaced with clean items for each client. Disposable and terry cloth towels, hair caps, headbands. Headbands is extremely important. You want to put something, and that's part of your state board. When you're lashing at 3D Lash and Brow, and you might see me, Miss Monica, Miss April, any of us walking around, we will call you out if you don't have something resting on your client's forehead, because you used your client's forehead to put your wrist on it to give you support. And if they have oily skin, or if you know, I don't know, if your hands are dirty, they shouldn't be, but if you know, you're just cross contaminating yourself to someone else. And don't forget that if your client has oily skin or whatever, it's going to go to, you know, you're resting, so their oily skin is seeping into your skin. So you know, I don't feel comfortable doing that, you know. So I always put something. You always have to put something, and it's part of state board. You have to put something on their forehead, whether it's a little towel, whether it's a headband, whether it's a napkin with tapes at the corners. You can do that as well. Headband, brushes, gowns, spatulas that contact skin, or products from multi-use containers. A licensee shall use only properly labeled semi-permanent glue and semi-permanent glue remover that must be used according to the manufacturer's instructions. Manufacturer's instructions, that's going to go to everything, meaning EPA, make sure you're constantly reading, you know, if you find a different brand apart from Barbicide, make sure you're always reading the proportions of how to mix it with water. You know, make sure everything, even with your glues, your adhesives, make sure that you're reading how to store them, because they can store differently. Some of them store differently. So you just always want to make sure that you're reading that, so you know how to store them and they don't go to waste. Okay. Extensions must be stored in a sealed bag or covered container and shall be kept in a clean, dry, debris-free storage area. Never, 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 never leave your lashes out. If you're in a hurry, and you need to leave, like it's 6 o'clock and you want to hurry up and leave, just cover them real quick. Cover them real quick. It only takes a few seconds. You just have, you know, just make sure you're constantly covering that. Okay. So that basically covers all of that. Let me see here if anyone has questions.
Learning is kind of a free week of learning. So I have decided that we're going to go over infection control. Be sure that you do your fundamentals, foundations, or fundamentals, I believe is what it says in SEMA homework this week. Your practical, remember, practical homework will be as well for whatever week that you start at school. That is the week of practicals that you are on to submit every Monday. Feel good? Yes? Great. You guys don't have to worry about that. But yeah. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And for those in Lash who don't know me, I'm sorry, I'm Miss Tempest. I'm the daytime aesthetics instructor. Can everybody see that? Yes, no, maybe so. Let me see some head nods. Okay, perfect. Alrighty, so infection control is chapter 5 in your fundamentals section in SEMA. All right, so the objective today will be to understand the state laws and rules and differences between them. If you have not received yet, the state of Texas or TDLR will send you a laws and regulations book. They typically send a new print out of that book every 2 years, even though there are still rules that change in the meantime. Okay, so if you have not signed up with their email list, I highly recommend to do that because you will be updated about when they have city hall meetings. And those are things as practitioners that you can be a part of. So you do have a voice, your voice does matter, and you control what is dictated within our industry. Meaning that your votes and you giving your input on those meetings will help to change the laws. So I always like to give the example about hair braiding many years ago. I don't even remember what year that was at this point, but there was a push for the law to change that you had to be TDLR licensed to actually do hair braiding. And because of that rule, there were a lot of businesses who had already been started who actually already provided those services. So of course, the people in the industry came together. They decided, no, this is not right. We've been in business for years. A lot of them felt like this is already a part of our culture. Why do we have to go back to school and get licensed to braid hair if we're not using chemicals? So they were able to reverse that law, and then TDLR changed it to now you do not have to have a license in the state of Texas to actually braid hair. Woohoo! I think something similar happened as well with shampooing. You used to have to be licensed to shampoo, and that also has changed. So just know that if you have an issue with something that the law is in the state of Texas, that you do have a voice. So a voteless people is a hopeless people. So reach out, join those meetings, send in your comments, send in your concerns, and actually vote that way that you have a voice in that and you're not just complaining, right? Because sometimes we do that. We're like, I hate this, but we don't do anything about it. So sign up with TDLR email alerts. They will update you. They also will let you know when your license is about to expire or needs to be renewed. Who remembers how many years does it? Oh, I almost told you. How many years do you have to renew your license? Okay, online, anybody?
2 years.
Yes, absolutely. And you do have to do continuing education as well within that 2 year span time. That is a lot of time to get some continuing education done. Okay. Don't wait last minute like I do, a month out, you know. Yes, ma'am.
Your continued education,
Mhm.
or like a seminar or something, how are you proving that you're doing that?
So,
In order to renew
great
your
question. Absolutely. So her question online, just so you all know, is how do you prove that you're doing continuing education courses when you are doing that? So they have to be registered with TDLR to give you continuing ed, and they would submit that information.
license?
Yeah, for
And
you
have
on your
to, like,
behalf.
sign up. So, like, for instance, if there was like a meetup of something for facial.
Absolutely.
new
Yes. And so
product.
you'll see on a lot of those seminars or things, they'll say continuing education credits available,
Oh,
which
okay,
means, and you
cool.
can go to the TDLR website just to see if their name is actually listed as an approved person to actually give those continuing education courses. Okay. And so there's certain guidelines that they have to be within. Of course, it always includes infection control and a couple of other things, but it has to be approved by TDLR, and they send in that information, and the TDLR will let you know once they've received it. So that's kind of how the system works. Yeah, and you can also do those online too.
Yeah.
Not as fun, you're not
I just
learning as
thought it
much,
would be
but
cool
yeah.
to, like, do something in
Yeah.
person and count it.
It does. A good question. All righty, let's see. So also we're gonna list the types and classifications of different bacteria, define hepatitis and HIV, and explain how they are transmitted. Explain the differences between cleaning, disinfecting, and sterilizing. Dun dun dun. That is usually a state board question. Okay, your state board multiple choice will be primarily about laws and regulations and sanitation and infection control. That's just the bulk of it. But you'll hear about that today. All right, also, we're going to list the types of disinfectants and how they are used, discuss universal and standard precautions, list your responsibilities as a salon professional, describe how to safely clean and disinfect a salon and spa, tools and equipment. Fun stuff. And then, why study infection control? Why do you guys think we need to know this? What are we trying to do? Absolutely. Right? Reduce the spread of infection. Understanding the types of things you can come encounter with. We're working very closely with people, especially now. As you can understand, we have how many strands of COVID at this point? How many strands of the flu? You know, things always change. So it's good to know how to fight those things, especially when you're continually touching or in close proximity of people. And then, of course, the long career, understanding the basics of cleaning and disinfecting, as well as following the federal and state laws will ensure that you have a long, successful career. If you're always sick and you're out, can you make money? No, unless you, I guess, have a year worth of PTO. You know, nobody likes that. And plus, no one wants to feel icky. And you don't want to spread those things to your family, friends, or loved ones. And then, of course, understand the chemistry of the products used to clean the disinfectant tools and implements. How to use those products correctly is essential for a safe environment. And that includes for you as well. Whether you're supposed to wear gloves, if you're actually supposed to touch it with your skin, can it cause cancer if you do touch it? What is it actually killing? Is it going to kill spores at all? Or, you know, is this a situation that I need to use a different product because maybe there's been an outbreak of lice, or maybe there's been an outbreak of shingles, for example, something that's highly contagious. Cool, feel good? Yes. All right, and then regulation. Many different states and federal agencies regulate the practices of beauty and wellness. So remember, this is by state, state to state. So if you are a licensed esthetician here in the state of Texas, those laws and regulations could be completely different in Oklahoma. So don't think that it's exactly the same. Every state is different. And then federal agencies set guidelines for manufacturing, the sale, and use of equipment and chemical ingredients, as well as the requirements for safety in our workplace. Yes, Alexis, go ahead.
So I actually kind of had a question on that. My husband's in the military, and we are possibly PCSing within the next 18 months to Colorado. How do you go about like updating your license once you get there? I know it has to be based on like their regulations, but how do you go about that?
Absolutely. So it really depends on the state you're going to. So you can do what's called reciprocity. As far as finishing your program, since we are an online program, that's completely okay. But Colorado would be the one that you would have to contact to see what their requirements are for your license to transfer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I actually had an older student who did that. She had a license for the state of, where's Jackson, Mississippi. And so she actually came to Texas, enrolled in aesthetics program, but she already had a cosmetology license in Jackson, because the state of Jackson, you have to have an aesthetics license as well to do aesthetics. But in Texas, you don't have to have an aesthetics license to do aesthetics if you have a cosmetology license. In Texas, if you have a cosmetology license, you can do everything. You can do lashes, you can do makeup, you can do skincare, you can do waxing, you can do nails, you can do absolutely everything in Texas under you don't. And so
About that.
absolutely. So it really depends on the state you're going to. So you can do what's called reciprocity. As far as finishing your program, since we are an online program, that's completely okay. But Colorado would be the one that you would have to contact to see what their requirements are for your license to transfer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I actually had an older student who did that. She had a license for the state of, where's Jackson, Mississippi. And so she actually came to Texas, enrolled in aesthetics program, but she already had a cosmetology license in Jackson, because the state of Jackson, you have to have an aesthetics license as well to do aesthetics. But in Texas, you don't have to have an aesthetics license to do aesthetics if you have a cosmetology license. In Texas, if you have a cosmetology license, you can do everything. You can do lashes, you can do makeup, you can do skincare, you can do waxing, you can do nails, you can do absolutely everything in Texas under the cosmetology program. And of course, hair. But for Texas, what she had to do was contact TDLR, because this is the state she wants to transfer to, get the information for what is needed. They had Jackson send them her syllabus and curriculum that she did in Jackson, and then they from Texas decided what she needed to do from that point, which was just apply to take the state board exam. So now she doesn't even have to go to school. So she's just taking her exam, which she actually just passed, she told me last week. But it just really depends on that state. So that was Texas' decision to say, okay, we can grant her reciprocity is what it's called, and she can actually still get her license, but we need her to pass our state board exam.
Yeah, I think in Colorado I have to have a full esthetician license just to do lashes. So I was like, I wish you would have told me we were going there before I started school.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh
All
well.
right, but good
It's all
luck. Yeah,
fun.
keep us posted.
Okay.
Let's see. So, federal agencies set guidelines for manufacturing, the sale, and use of equipment and chemical ingredients, as well as requirements for safety in our workplace. So that's a federal regulation, not a state. And then state agencies regulate the licensing. So that will be TDLR, right? And enforcement and your conduct in the salon. So those are all of our rules and regulations, which is state mandates, not the federal. And then OSHA stands for Occupational Safety and Health Administration. And they are also responsible for material data sheets, which actually I believe they changed the name to SDS. So you may see SDS instead of MSDS, which is safety data sheet instead of the material in front of it. Okay, so same thing. This includes your product content. It also gives you associated hazards, combustion levels, and then storage requirements of how to keep those products. This is something that is very important, that you have to have an SDS sheet for every chemical inside of your salon. If you buy something, typically they should be sending you the SDS sheet with it. Okay. And of course, you can keep digital copies, or you can do the hard copies. There's some places that keep them actually in binders in their storage closets where their chemicals are kept. But you have to have SDS sheets for that reason. It helps you just to understand, like, if you're mixing certain things, where you should store them, what to do if it gets on their skin, the level and percentage of content that's in it. And I actually think I pulled up a SDS sheet for you guys. You can kind of see what it looks like. Oh, I did barbicide. Okay, let me stop sharing. Yeah, that looks it. Okay, so Barbicide is really popular. I actually Googled Barbicide SDS sheet, and these pop up, but all of them look extremely. They look identical as far as the sections. Okay, so you'll look for safety data sheet, which will be in the corner. And then it'll tell you the health, the fire hazard, the reactivity, and the personal protection. So each section, this is identification in this section of like where it is, where it came from, the manufacturer's address. The hazard identification would be section 2. Okay, so the warning signs: causes serious eye irritation, causes skin irritation, clear to light yellow liquid. Odor could be fresh linen. And this is this brand, of course. Okay. First aid measures. So if this comes into contact with any of these things, this will give you the protocols of what to do. So for example, if eye contact hole, eye open, rinse slowly and gently with water for 15 to 20 minutes. Remove contact lenses if present after the first 5 minutes, then continue rinse. Wash skin with soap and water if on skin. So does that mean that you should touch this? No? Okay. So if I'm putting implements in here and I'm taking them out with my hand, I'm now putting it on my skin, right? Yeah. And then let's see, firefighting measures. So this is explosive, sensitive to mechanical impact, none. Sensitive to static discharge, none. Accidental release measures. Okay, so it tells you more details. See section 12 for additional ecology and information. Handling and storage. This is really important to know. Where do you store this? Where should it go? Handle in accordance with good industry hygiene and safe practice. Do not contaminate water, food, or feed by storage or disposal. Keep upright with cap tightly closed. Store an original container in areas inaccessible to children. It tells you that it has strong oxidizing agents. And then exposure, personal protection. So it tells you in detail like what chemicals there are included in that, the amount of chemical that's in there. Personal protective equipment, these are things that you should have on. Safety glasses or goggles when handling the concentrate. Skin and body, protective gloves when handling the concentrate. So that means that I should not be touching it. Respiratory protection. No protective equipment is needed under normal use conditions, so I don't have to put anything respiratory wise on. And general hygiene considerations handle in accordance with good industry hygiene and safe practice. And then it gives you all section 9 physical and chemical properties, stability and reactivity, toxology, ecological information, disposable considerations. Once it's gone, what do I do with it? Do not reuse container. That's important. Disposal should be in accordance with applicable region, national, and local laws and regulations. Because remember, chemicals is regulated by who?
FDA?
Yeah. Transport information, regulatory information, and then number 16 is other information, including data of preparation of the last revision. Okay, so every SDS sheet will have 16 sections. The hardest thing, honestly, for me to find SDS sheets on are lash glues. So just a heads up. Yes, Char, go ahead.
So what do you need the SDS for? Like, how do you know which products you need it for and which chemicals you don't? Or you need it
Every
for
chemical in your salon you need an SDS sheet for.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I know. Go ahead, April.
So just like per OSHA, they actually allow you to keep the SDS sheet on your computer as long as it's available to all employees. Like, I know, like, I'm OSHA certified because I'm an embalmer. So, like, for instance, like, whenever we store formaldehyde and things like that, they have to be in their original container. And, like, most companies that you're buying from will already have, like, a bulk SDS sheet on their website somewhere that you should be able to pull it from.
Yes. Just take note the important thing that if you are keeping those digital copies, like she said, it has to be accessible though to every employee that they can actually go in and get that information if they need it. So if TDLR ever comes and you show them, I have the digital copies, they're here on this folder on my desktop, but none of your employees, one, know where they're located or have access to it, you'll still get dinged for it. So good practice would be maybe have an area that's digital and maybe printed as well. Make it a part of your new employee orientation. All right. Awesome sauce. Any other questions about the SDS sheet? All right, so EPA stands for Environmental Protection Agency. That's the E, the A, the P, the A. Of course, these have to be, they do not have to be barbicide. They usually end in the word sides. But there are different type of disinfectants. The two that are used in salons are hospital grade and tuberculocidal disinfectants. Okay. And so do not be alarmed. You can also use alcohol, of course. Considered. And then safety and welfare laws. Okay, so laws, basically the laws are written by the state legislation and determine the scope of practice, of course. And then what you are allowed to do and establish those guidelines for agencies to make the rules. And then rules are also called regulations. So rules and regulations are interchangeable words. They are more specific than the actual law. They determine how the law will actually be applied. So rules establish specific standards of conduct and then can be changed and updated frequently without the passing of a law through the legislation. And then preventing the spread of infections is easy when you know proper procedures and follow them at all times, non-negotiable. So being a skincare professional, of course, is fun, or lash artist, but it's also a great responsibility. So one careless action could cause an injury, it could cause an infection, it can cause the spread of infection, the invasion of body tissues or pathogens, and you could also end up losing your license or ruin the salon's reputation. So those are things that you really want to take very seriously, which is why the majority of your state board is about this. And then potential infectious microorganisms include bacteria, fungi, viruses, and parasites. Every time I say parasites, it makes me like cringe, like, I don't know, it's the word or something. Remember, we're never allowed to diagnose anyone, right? We always want to refer. We are not doctors, medical people, but we are still very knowledgeable, and we went to school for this for a reason. And if there's something that you need to refer, I always say play it safe than sorry, for your safety, for their safety. So just don't diagnose them and say, girl, you look like you have X, Y, and Z. Just say, there's a concern, especially because some people kind of get anxious and they panic and they're like, oh, my esthetician told me it was spores, or just to give you an example, or my esthetician told me it was mumps. You don't want to diagnose anyone, or recommend treatments or for diseases or for any abnormal conditions. You just want to refer out. That's why it's important to have somebody you can refer to. Bless you.